Shane Waldron. Who? Oh, that's bad football knowledge. Shane Waldron was an up-and-coming offensive coach a couple years ago. Now he's lost 2 jobs in the span of a couple of years. But Shane Waldron has been fired as the Bears offensive coordinator. Hey, goodbye. Less than 10 months after he got hired, it's see you later. Get out of here. The team announcing the firing one day after the head coach Matteberflus somehow kept his job. He promised changes and adjustments for the Bears after the pathetic performance. So someone named Thomas Brown, we don't know who that is, but apparently he's the pass game coordinator, and he has been promoted to a penthouse on the Upper East Side there. He will be the offensive coordinator for now in Chicago. That is a temporary job. Do not get too comfortable. So let us discuss the question. Shane Waldron, fired as the Bears offensive coordinator after just 9 games. What does this one say to you? What does this one say to you? So I've got generational, Pepsi challenge, and nail polish. And we will combine all of these things together, and we will let our guard down. Much like the Chicago Bears let their guard down on offense. And oh, what a hot mess it was as they hem and haw in the Windy City. So my first thought here, Chicago was showing a little childlike enthusiasm. Right after the draft, they were pumping their chest out. They were walking around like the peacock, had the feathers up in the air everywhere. And I know from Yafimi and G-Mange and the other guys, Eugene in Chicago, those guys who interact with us from the Windy City, they were all very giddy, excited. They believed that this was real. It was not a mirage, that they had found their way to the promised land of the NFL, the adults table. It turns out that drafting Caleb Williams, he was the chosen one. And that was supposed to be a turning point. Right now, as you stop, all we have is today. If you take a snapshot of the moment today, the Bears are who we thought they were, as a former Bears coach said. And if you want to crown them, crown them. We were told the roster had been upgraded. They improved the players around Caleb Williams. This was not your normal bad team, and the Bears were better than that. These were not your daddy's Bears or your granddaddy's Bears. No. Everything was lined up. They had done so perfectly, and they were ready to hit the ground running. And now you have what? Panic at the Disco. You have Panic at the Disco. This is a generational move. Let me repeat that for those of you in the back of the room. This is a generational move. You have to go back over 50 years to find the last time the buttoned-up Bears did something like this. The Bears had not changed offensive coordinators in the middle of the season since someone named Perry Moss. Who? I don't know who that is. Perry Moss was the first designated offensive coordinator for the Chicago football team. That was in 1970. So that's 54 years ago, the last time something like this happened, which was the first time that could have happened. And ever since then, the Bears have gone all the way through the season, no matter how much they tumble. And then maybe they make a clean sweep after the season to find a spark, but they don't do it during the year. But Shane Waldron out, and he has come under fire here because of the ineptitude of the Bears and the Chicago offense, which has sucked at a time you cannot suck. The problems of Caleb Williams, who looks like an absolute jabroni, right? Does he not? Can we all agree on that? The Bears are 4-5. They have lost 3 straight games. They've scored only 27 total points. That's it in 3 games, and averaging 277.6 yards per game, which sounds bad. It is the 3rd lowest in the NFL. You put all of these things together, mix it with all the optimism, and any way you slice it, this thing is a tinderbox, and it has just started to go up in flames in Chicago. Now, page 2. Things are so bad at Hallow. How bad are they? I'm glad you asked. They're so bad that we are told, this is fascinating. I love this part of the story. So we are told, flash, boom, bam, a group of players for the Chicago football team requested to management and the coaching staff that they benched Caleb Williams for the backup Tyson-Bagent. Let me repeat that one again. That's a doozy. Isn't that a doozy? That's a humdinger. It's a humdinger. Yeah, so a group of players asked the Bears to bench Caleb Williams for Tyson-Bagent. How big a deal is this? So I'll go first because I'm the only one here. It is alarming, right? It is. You juxtapose what's going on in Chicago with the Pepsi Challenge, right? The soda challenge. Quarterback A, prototypical gifted quarterback, 5-star recruit, played at football powerhouses, blue bloods of college football. Then you have quarterback B, a 0-star recruit from a D2 school in West Virginia, undrafted free agent. And the Bears have a contingent of players that would like that guy to play quarterback B, the great Tyson-Bagent from Shepherd College in Shepherdtown, West Virginia, as opposed to the 5-star recruit who went to Oklahoma and USC. So the Bears, let's cut to the chase. The Bears have a clicker of a story, meaning a click or many clicks that have developed in the locker room. Now, you do not have to be Inspector Gadget to know that a lot of this appears to come from one receiver in particular. But Caleb Williams is not only struggling, he has lost a lot of the support that he had. All the good vibrations, the happy days are here again, and all that has gone out the window. And despite all the tools that make those scouts drool, there is a disconnect. Now, DJ Moore is a person of interest. He has raised a ruckus with bad body language and walking off the field. Of course, they claimed it. Low information fans thought, well, he was hurt on the play. He just gave up on the play. He was so frustrated with Caleb Williams, he just gave up. And so all of those variables, he's not alone, obviously. There's more than one player on the Bears who had the balls to go to management. It's like, well, we need this other guy, Tyson-Bagent, to play. That must have been quite the conversation. So wait a minute. We drafted this guy number 1 overall in the draft, and you want us to bench him for the undrafted guy. And you think that's possible. You think that's a card we could play, like a whodunit situation. All right, now, last word. So which direction, if you look at the map here, and maybe you're using one of your map apps on your phone, but if you look at the directional map, the landscape here, which direction is this headed for Matteberflus with the Bears? So he has crossed the Rubicon, and it's appropriate. We're heading into the Thanksgiving part of the calendar, and he is a turkey. He's a turkey is what he is. Matteberflus is going WNBA. He's like, hey, we got next in terms of the chopping block. We've seen a couple of coaches get whacked already this season. Shout out to Dennis Allen in the Bayou. Bye-bye. And Robert Saleh with the Jets. Bye-bye. So they've already lost their job. And the Bears hadn't gotten rid of a coordinator in over 50 years. They don't get rid of coaches during the season either. Head coaches, that is. Or do they? So despite Eberflus, I just want to be very clear. He's going to lose his job, whether it happens before the end of the season or not. So this does not pardon the play of Caleb Williams. I think people conflate these two things. They're like, well, Matt Eberflus is doing a bad job. Shane Waldron's doing a bad job. So that absolves Caleb Williams of accountability. And that's not how I feel. Now, there's a lot of losers in the football media and people on social media, not real media, that are like, well, it's not Caleb Williams' fault. So a lot of times in these situations, you would look in the back. In the past, you would look at the mood ring. I see what the mood ring is. Now, in the Bears locker room, they don't use the mood ring. They check the nail polish on the fingers of Caleb Williams. And Caleb, last I heard, and this might be wrong, it's gray, meaning strained and anxious. Strained and anxious. So the nail polish, the mood nail polish is gray. Now, comedy gold. It is absolute comedy gold. It's a night at the Improv. To think that on shows like this and others who practice the ancient art of gasbaggery, that we spent valuable time on the airwaves of sports radio debating if Caleb Williams was good enough to get equity shares, to own a piece of the pie, to own part of the Chicago Bears. Remember this talking point that came up, and there were some stories that were supposedly linked from Caleb Williams' father and some people around him that got into the media that he was going to dictate, that he was going to change the entire system, and he wanted equity in whatever team he played for. Considering how he's played, that is ultimate big ball territory. It's even funnier when you flash back many months ago when the Bears punter, a guy named Tory Taylor, don't know who that is, but Tory Taylor, he said he received a text message from Caleb Williams that read, "Hey, you're not going to punt too much in 2024. So we fast forward now. Who goofed? I've got to know. It turns out that Tory Taylor, punter, Chicago football team, he has more punting yards than quarterback Caleb Williams has total yards this season. The Bears punter used early and often 2,153 yards punting. Caleb Williams, 2,021 yards, total yards for the Chicago Bears quarterback.